Are you looking at the new Star Wars Unlimited game? This has just recently come out, and I went to the pre-release this week, and I got my chance to play a little bit of games, and I wanted to kind of talk about it with you guys to see if this might be something you might be interested in. I'm going to mostly focus on the collection aspect, the differences of this game comparatively to other major card-driven collection games such as like Magic the Gathering, even Hearthstone. They give you kind of my opinion from games that I've played and what I kind of expect with Star Wars Unlimited going forward. So if that sounds interesting to you, please stay tuned for that. All right, well, thank you for joining me. My name is Brian. If you're new here, you're watching Game Brigade. So yeah, let's talk Star Wars Unlimited. This is the newest collectible trading card game from Fantasy Flight Games. As I said, I recently went to the pre-release and played in their sealed event. If you're not aware of what sealed means or any of these terms, I'll kind of go through those as we open this box and kind of talk about the different type of variants that you can find in a trading card game. I also want to talk about some of the differences with this game with other games. So that way, if you are kind of on the fence or if you've maybe played another game, maybe this will give you a better understanding if this game is for you. So without further ado, I think it might be a good time to open this pack and kind of talk about what we have. So this is the Spark of the Rebellion pre-release pack. And I was able to secure another one of these before I left the event house. So yeah, I'm excited to get it. So if you are new to these kind of games, a lot of companies do this now where they will have these pre-release packs that give you a certain amount of decks or a certain amount of packs, usually 6, that you are going to build a deck out of. So these are the 6 packs. Look at that, like all the same art almost, all Thrawn. And we got some Chewie and Leia there. So you're going to build your deck out of these 6 packs. Now you also get a foil bonus card. So these are our pre-release promos. And then inside you'll also find a deck box, a copy of the rules if you have any questions on how that works. And there's also a rule book in here as well as tokens. In trading card games, there are several different types of formats that you can play in a pre-release or release type event. Normally these are called limited because you don't bring your own deck. You're obviously going to be playing with new cards from the set, either from the new game that just came out, or eventually they might release a new set for you to enjoy. And it gives basically a level playing field for everyone to kind of be on. So let's take a look. You know what? Let's open up the promo pack. So these are special cards that are going to be given for basically free. Come on out of there. What are you doing? Kind of warped there. Okay, so we've got both Vader and Luke Skywalker. And these are leaders. So let's talk about the first difference of Star Wars Unlimited. Unlike other games, this features a system of using a leader and a base. The leader and the base are going to kind of help guide you or kind of set some parameters around the cards that you can have inside of your deck. Now, if you look here at the Luke Skywalker, you can see right here we have these identity symbols. These are basically letting you know the kind of cards that he will allow you to play without any sort of penalty. Now, the interesting thing about Star Wars Unlimited is that you are actually able to play any card you want in any deck you want. Unlike other games, which gives you restrictions based on the mana you're using and the amount of stuff that you can cast, this game says if you want to play Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker in a deck, you're more than welcome to do that. You're just going to have to play a penalty based on the cards that are against your color. So let's give an example. We're going to use hypotheticals and say that this Darth Vader is not a leader, he's a card. But we're actually playing with Luke Skywalker. You'll notice that Vader, in a normal game, would have a cost up here and his color attributes. Because his colors don't match my leader, I would have to pay a penalty here of an additional cost based on his opposite card. So he would cost 7 plus 4 more. Now, this is a very bad example because these are just the 2 cards and these are not castable cards. But that's the idea, is that you are able to mix and match different types of cards together. So the way the leader works is you have your leader here, and you're going to place them on the table just like that. You'll notice I have a section here for base and leader. And the leader has an ability that'll say it's an action. Do this, and you can perform whatever, you follow the rules of the game. Now, there's also an epic action here. If you control 7 or more resources, we'll talk about resources here in a second, you can deploy this leader, which means you're going to flip him and place him into the battleground or the zone that he is affiliated to, which is here going to be units. This is the ground units over here. And now I have Vader as a unit. If he were to become defeated, he would actually flip back, come back to my leader section here, and I would not be able to use that epic action again, but I can continue using him as my leader with his normal action up there. That is the leader part. Now, let's open one of these packs, because the other section that's new in this game are the bases. The bases are the other color combination that you're going to help build your decks with. And every pack comes with a base. So let's go and flip this over. And we have our leader here first. We have a rare Cassian Andor. Down here in the bottom is where you can see the rarity of the card. And a gold R stands for rare. And he is a leader. So we can see his normal unit side there. You can see up here he's a leader unit, and it tells you where he goes in the ground. And there's leader card. Now, here's an example of a base. The base is basically telling you up here the color combination. So if I chose to play Capital City and Darth Vader, I could play blue, red, and black cards in my deck without any penalties, for the most part. Now, if there's a double blue or double black, then we're going to have to pay an additional cost there because we're not playing double. So here are the rest of the cards. Now, you'll see here in the bottom, again, rarity tells you what rare it is. You're going to have several different versions of common cards before we get to the rares and the uncommons, and eventually any guaranteed foils that we have. You'll notice up here we have, again, space. This is a unit, it's space. So when we play this unit, it would play on the opposite side over here, because ground units would be over here, and our space units are over there. So let's kind of go through the rest of this pack and see what we got. We strike true, removal, really good card. Here we have a Sentinel card. Sentinel is very much like defender or guard abilities. Basically, your opponent must, if they're in the same space, if your opponent has a spacecraft, they have to attack this creature first before they can deal damage to your base. Your base has a life total up here in the corner. Different bases have different life totals. Right now, the base life total is 30, but I have seen some at 25. So we have some more fighters. You'll notice that this is a spell. It's an event. These events are very, very similar to sorcery type spells in other games. Effectively, you will be casting them, doing whatever the effect is, and then this will go to your discard pile. Here we have a Ground Trooper. This number here is how much damage these cards deal. This is how much damage they can take. Damage is persistent, so if this character receives 2 damage on him in a conflict, he will have 2 health remaining. You take the damage dealt plus, minus this number, that's how much he's remaining. And once they have reached 0, they are defeated and removed from the battlefield. Here is a card that has no color combinations. This is a neutral card. You can play this without penalty in any deck you'd like. Another one of those events. Here we are in the common still. And now we've reached the uncommon section. Again, you can see down here, it's going to be a silver U for uncommon. There are several different rarity types when it comes to, I was going to say Magic, to Star Wars Unlimited. You have common, uncommon, rare, and then you have legendary. And there's also a rarity called starter deck cards, which are only found in the starter pre-con decks. So you would have an S down here for those. And I think that's interesting that they're doing cards that are only found in the starter decks. It's one way to sell those cards and those decks. But, you know, not everyone would want to buy those all the time. So another uncommon. Ooh, we got Fett's Fire Spray. This is actually Fett's Fire Spray. That's cool. You can see it's a rare down here. And then he has a when played and an action. Let's talk about the item. Then we got our guaranteed foil, which is an Alliance X-Wing. Every deck will guarantee a foil in there. Let's talk about the gameplay mechanics a little bit. This game is very different from other games I played in the sense that you are allowed to do effectively one thing on your turn before you say go. At the start of the game, you are going to resource 2 cards. We're just going to show that down here, which is also a different change. We'll talk about that in a second. And then when it's your turn, you can exhaust your cards, your resources that you've done to play a card. So like, for example, I pay 2 to play this Alliance X-Wing into the space region of my board. That means I'm done. I cannot do anything else. I can't also attack with them. They also come in exhausted, by the way. That's a new thing for me. I can't attack with them. I can't also, you know, decide to attack with Vader. I have to pass my turn to my opponent. My opponent will take their action, and then I can go back to me. If I had other lands I could play, I could do something, or if I had an action here that I could trigger, or I could take the initiative. The initiative is represented by this token here. That's a Star Wars Unlimited token. Whoever takes the initiative first will take that token, and now they have the first player for the next round. And when both players are fully done, where they have no more actions they can take, then you will pass the turn. So that's effectively how Star Wars Unlimited works. Let's talk about the resources. I mentioned that this is kind of different. Magic the Gathering, which came out in 1993, kind of revolutionized and created this whole industry for this trading card game, has lands as their resources. And it works in Magic, but there are times that people can get frustrated with that because you can get mana hosed or screwed because you don't get the lands that you need to play the game. You have to be able to pay for your cards to actually play this type of game. And a lot of games have tried to solve the mana issue. Hearthstone, which is an online-only game, does a resource crystal that you generate every turn, and you generate up to like 9 resource crystals over the course of the turns. Star Wars Unlimited does somewhat similar, where they basically say every card that you have in your hand, you can resource at the end of the round, 1 card, to continually add more cards. But there is going to be that kind of FOMO aspect you're going to have to deal with, because you're going to have cards in your hand, and, you know, for example, like let's say this is my hand, you know, I might want to play all these cards, but, you know, maybe 8's a long ways off, so I'll choose to resource that card and add it to my resources. And that's how it works. There's no actual resources. You'll just choose a card that you don't want anymore for whatever reason. Maybe the effect isn't as good, and you'll add it down to your resource section face down, adding more resources to your game. Now, the way they combat this, and so that you aren't completely negative in card advantage, is at the end of every round, each player will draw 2 cards. So you're going to draw 2 cards, and then you get to choose if you wish to resource or not, and then you will ready all your stuff so everything's available and untapped and ready to go for the next round. I think that's an interesting way to do it. And especially because once you've reached a point, based on whatever deck you have, maybe your deck is a low deck and you're only going to be playing things that are 4 or less. And so you're only going to need maybe 4 or 5 resources to play the game. So then you're going to effectively be drawing 2 cards a turn, which is a great way to keep card advantage up on your opponent, who might have a higher curve looking at, say, 8 or so. I don't think I even talked about, I think I forgot mentioning this earlier when I was talking about the types of formats. There's 2 types of formats. You have the sealed, which I kind of talked about with the 6 packs. You also have draft, by the way. I wanted to make sure I talked about that. The draft is where you will take 3 packs like this, and you will open a pack, and you're going to choose a card from the pack to start building a deck. And then you're going to take that pack and you're going to pass it to the next person, grabbing the pack from the person to your left or right, depending on which way you're going. And then you're going to take another card from that pack and keep passing off as you build a deck, eventually going through all 3 packs. It gives you a way to craft your deck a little bit more effectively than, say, sealed, which gives you more packs to build with, but it's kind of, you got to make do with what you have. So those are the 2 types of formats you could expect in a limited section, which is a pre-release or release type format. Draft is also very popular with a lot of competitive formats because it truly tests your skill of knowing the format and being able to build a deck successfully that can beat other people with the cards that you were given, which is pretty cool. So we talked about the use of the leader. We talked about the different arenas here. We can talk a little bit more about the arenas here. The arenas, as I mentioned, you will play a card to an arena based on the type of card it is. If it's a ground, it goes into the ground section. If it's a space, it goes in the space. For the most part, now there are cards that will break the rules based on, you know, what the card says. For the most part, though, space attacks space, ground attacks ground. There are cards that will say if you have a space troop, you can attack the ground. That is possible, and there potentially could be more cards in later sets that can attack space. But unless the card says so otherwise, you can only attack the ground, or you attack the base to deal damage, because that is effectively the goal of the game, is to kill your opponent's base. So why would I recommend this game? Do I like this game? I had a lot of fun. Let's go and turn this off. I don't think I need this anymore. I had a lot of fun at the pre-release. I went 3-0 playing kind of a mishmash rebel deck. I switched between Harris and Dula as my leader. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of Spectre cards, so then I switched to Leia. And I didn't really have even that many Rebel cards, so I went back to Hera for the final game. But I liked that the way the game has an interaction. As I mentioned, there's that action system where I take an action and I say go. I thought that was going to be very, very limiting in terms of the potential things that I can do. I'm coming from a background of games where, depending on what my resources are for that turn, I can do multiple things. In Magic, I might be able to play a creature, play a spell, you know, play another land. There's a bunch of things that I could potentially do on my turn. And also on your turn, I might be able to even interact with you and prevent you from doing something that might interact with my board. Coming from a game that says, nope, you can't do that. In fact, you can only do one thing. You can attack. You can play a card. You can activate an action. That's it. You can only do one of those things. It's very, very jarring. But when I went into my second and third game, I was pleasantly surprised to see the type of interactions that would arise from the decision-making space of what do I do now? I can't pass and take initiative because then I'm going to give my opponent free reins to do everything, but I also want to make sure that I get initiative so that I don't get attacked. You know, I want to control the damage on the next turn. So you're kind of playing this interesting little game with your opponent and also trying to make sure that you're trading effectively. This game is very much about card efficiency, resource management, and trading effectively with your opponents. And what do I mean by trading effectively? You know, you want to get cards where your one card can effectively deal with 2 cards of your opponent's. You want your opponent to be in negative card value in this type of situation, especially when the cards are retaining their damage. Any way that you can prevent damage, such as a shield or healing, things that can keep your creatures alive and stronger longer, or take additional actions, is definitely very, very powerful. So what would I recommend to this? Again, as I mentioned, I think this game is great if you're looking for an entry point to a new system that's very early in its development cycle. One of the things I think that this has a positive effect is that everyone right now is effectively the same skill level in terms of our knowledge of the game. Now, there are people who have their brains wired differently for these type of games, and they're probably going to be naturally more gifted for that. But for the most part, we're all pretty much coming in at this at a base level. And it's kind of fun to be, you know, a first timer, like a prospector, I guess you could say, from gold mining. You know, we were one of the first people to go out there and do something. I think that's kind of cool. There's also the collection aspect of this game. This has several different variations for rarity for you to play around with or to collect if you are a person who is a collector. First, we have the showcase cards, which are the leader cards. They are going to be alternate art, full art, borderless, and foil versions of those cards. And those are up and above the normal count of the set. So these are kind of secret cards. I think that's super cool that's an option. You also have the hyperspace cards. I don't have anything that's a hyperspace card here that I think I can show you. Yeah, hyperspace cards are basically borderless extended art versions of normal cards. So any card in this set can be a extended art version, which is awesome. And you can even have those hyperspace cards that are foiled effect or standard effect. So there's even an additional rarity on top of that, getting your card foiled. And of course you have the foils. We saw that there's at minimum at least one guaranteed foil in every set. And the foiling is not too bad. A lot of foiling cards, and especially in other games, have issues of getting too warpy. Almost like these pre-release cards, which are surprisingly more warpy than I thought they would be. But every other foil has been pretty good. And then you have the rarities of the cards in general. You've got the commons, the uncommons, the rare, the legendary, and then the starter set available for you to collect. I am pretty impressed with this game, and I'm hoping that you guys here on the channel enjoy this kind of content, because I would love to dive into this more, talk about the things that I'm doing, but I want to hear what you guys think here. If this is something you want to see on the channel some more, let me know. We'd love to do some gameplays or show you some more stuff that's related to Star Wars Unlimited. Let me know in the comment section down below. Support by subscribing to the channel, giving a thumbs up, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.